Good evening, I am Uyai and I can come to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Today on Spotlight Africa, Ramaphosa faces parliament vote on corruption report. US imposes sanctions on Zimbabwe president's son. Ghana set to get $3 billion IMF bailout. Body of Zambian students Lemikani Nyirenda returned by Russia. Plus, world's only non-plate return home to Mali. These stories are all just ahead on Spotlight Africa. To stay with us. First, in today's Spotlight Africa report, South Africa's parliament is expected to hold a special sitting on today to debate a report by a panel of legal experts which found that President Cyril Ramaphosa may have broken his oath of office. This is in connection with the Impala farm scandal hanging over the president, in which Ramaphosa has been accused of a cover-up following the theft of foreign currency at his private game farm back in 2020. President Ramaphosa's fate will be in the hands of members of parliament as they vote on whether he should be impeached. Evidence of potential misconduct after allegations that he concealed the theft or he denied any wrongdoing. In another development, the US has imposed financial sanctions on 4 Zimbabweans, including the son of President Emerson Mnangagwa. It accuses Emerson Mnangagwa Jr. of being linked to the businessman Kudaweshe Tagwere, who is already under US sanctions for alleged corruption. The Treasury Department says over the last 5 years, Tagwere has used a combination of opaque business dealings and his ongoing relationship with the president to grow his business empire dramatically and rake in millions of dollars. President Mnangagwa is all the root causes of many of the country's ills, including corrupt elites abusing institutions for their personal benefit. Meanwhile, nearly 40,000 people have been displaced from their homes following renewed fighting in the South Sudan's oil-rich Upper Nile state. In its latest update, the UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said threats of violence continue to hamper humanitarian response in the state. It said the displaced people were living in dire conditions and required urgent life-saving assistance. Last week, ceasefire monitors said they would send a team to investigate the ongoing deadly clashes in the state. Meanwhile, fighting has been reported in the state since mid-November reported involving the National Army and the Menwood opposition forces. There are also reports of renewed hostilities in Fashoda area between different ethnic rival groups. We move now to Somalia, where a group of police officers who completed a training program in Djibouti returned to Mogadishu. Police Commissioner General Abdi Hassan Mohammed Hijah, who welcomed the officers at the airport, said the training was jointly conducted by instructors from Djibouti and Italy. Hijah said that the police officers would join the fight against Al-Shabaab. Reports say this was the 17th batch of police officers that the health authorities in Ethiopia's Tigray region have commended the flow of medical supplies into the war-hit region following the peace agreement signed between the federal government and the rebel forces. However, the health office said the supply still did not meet the demand in the region. On Monday, the federal government said it was delivering unlimited humanitarian aid, including food, non-food items, and medical supplies to Tigray in the wake of the peace agreement that was signed on the 12th of November to end the 2-year devastating war in the north of the country. Nationals whose bodies were found in Zambia over the weekend. Zambian police said preliminary investigations showed that there were migrants between the ages of 20 and 38. They are thought to have suffocated in a vehicle while trying to reach South Africa. Their bodies had been dumped by the roadside on the outskirts of the capital, Lusaka. Meanwhile, a sole survivor was found alive in the early hours of Sunday morning and was rushed to hospital for treatment. Tremors on Monday morning at around 11 a.m. local time. The Android earthquake alert system has indicated the seismic movement reached magnitude 4, which makes it one of the strongest tremors ever experienced in Ghana. But quakes of this scale usually only cause light, if any, damage. Reports say a team of experts has been sent to the affected neighborhoods, mostly in the west of Accra, to assess the situation. Meanwhile, there have been no reports of destruction of property or injuries because of the incident. It will be recalled that the last time an earth tremor occurred in the capital was in June 2020. Still in Ghana, where the IMF has reached an initial agreement with Ghana for a bailout program worth about $3 billion. The extended credit facility, as it was termed, is set to run for a period of 3 years. Economic stability and ensure debt sustainability. Ghana is a major producer of gold and cocoa, but its once booming economy has run into trouble with worryingly high levels of debt. The money from the IMF, along with the government's plans to restructure its debt, should help reassure creditors. It will be recalled that last week, Ghana's currency, the cedi, rallied against the US dollar after losing half of its value earlier this year. In recent months, inflation has soared to over 40%, and the country is in desperate need of money to turn the economy around. In the meantime, the body of a Zambian student who was killed in Ukraine fighting for Russia has been returned to his home country. Lemikani Rwanda died in September, but Russian officials only informed Zambian authorities last month. The 23-year-old, a student at the Moscow Engineering Physics Institute, had been serving 9 years in prison for a drug offense. According to the Zambian government, he was given an amnesty in exchange for fighting for Russia in Ukraine. Foreign Minister Stanley Kakubo said last week that after asking for an explanation about how Rwanda had ended up in Ukraine, that they were informed that Russia allows for prisoners to be provided an opportunity for pardon in exchange for participation in the special military operation, which is how Russia refers to its war in Ukraine. 103 over Locrip, Scotland, 34 years ago, was told he will not face the death penalty as he appeared in a U.S. court. The U.S. alleges that Abu Aguila Masood was a Libyan intelligence operative and played a key role in the 1988 attack, which left 270 people dead. Scottish and U.S. officials announced that Masood was in U.S. custody. He's the first person charged on U.S. soil in connection with the attack. A device on board the Boeing 747 exploded as the flight was flying over the English-Scottish border, killing 243 passengers, 6 crew, and 11 residents on ground, including a family of 4. The dead were citizens of 21 different countries, including 190 Americans and 43 Britons. It remains the deadliest terrorist incident to have taken place on British soil. Meanwhile, at Monday's hearing, U.S. Magistrate Judge Robbie Merriweather elected to delay the formal reading of charges. In separate developments, Kenyan world 800 meters athletics record holder David Rudisha has told newsmen how he survived after a plane he was traveling in crash-landed on Saturday evening. The plane, which was carrying him and 5 others, came down near a park in Kajiado County in Kenya's southeast. Rudisha described the moment as scary when one of the plane's wings hit a tree, spun, and landed on a rocky field. Pictures from the scene injuries after the crash. Others who had minor injuries were taken to hospital and later discharged. Rudisha holds the 800-meter world record after a stunning performance at the London Olympics in 2012. He is now retired but has suggested that he is considering going into coaching. After the break, we see Mozambique burn cancer-causing cosmetics. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned to the rest of the stories. Mozambique authorities have banned 10,000 cosmetic products that pose potential risk to health following an alert from the European Union. The products include shower gels, shampoos, creams and sprays. The authorities say they contain substances that can cause cancer, in addition to being harmful to reproductive health and potentially cause a factor at the country's medicine regulatory authority. Still in Mozambique, where a 9-year-old child has escaped death from a crocodile attack in Chiboto district of the southern Mozambican province of Gaza. The girl was swimming in the Limpopo River when the incident happened. She told local media that when she realized that she was under attack, she was immediately taken to a local hospital for treatment. Martha Moen, a director at the hospital, has said the girl is in good health. Dr. Moen said this was the second admission to the hospital this year from a crocodile attack. Meanwhile, crocodile attacks are common in Mozambique's major rivers and their tributaries. Away from that, the government in the Democratic Republic of Congo has strongly denounced what it calls the illegal presence of Rwanda-allied journalists in Congolese territory. DR Congo's information ministry alleged that propagandist media were being escorted by M23 rebel soldiers and Rwandan forces to multiple parts of eastern DR Congo. Rwanda has always denied involvement in the violence in DR Congo. Last week, the U.S. urged DR Congo. It came amid a UN investigation that found that at least 131 civilians in DR Congo died in a November attack by the M23 rebel group. Last fall today, the Democratic Republic of Congo's government will organize the funeral of singer Nsala Mwena, who died over the weekend at the age of 64. The Minister of Culture, Arts and Heritage on Monday paid a visit to Nsala Mwena's companion, Claude Mansala, where she made the announcement. Nsala Mwena was famous for several songs such as Karibu Nyangu, Malu and Sian, and had recorded over 20 albums. And that's all we have for you today on Spotlight Africa. Do ensure to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. This was Spotlight Africa. I am Uyai Aneke. Thanks for watching and do it.